Assalamu
Pleasure.
alaikum and welcome. This is the only way up, and today's topic is the much anticipated, much almost leaked budget. First budget of Labour in 14 years. A very different budget. A lot of groundwork was set. So a lot of things were predicted and sort of known. What do you make of it?
Yes, hi, Shani. I hope you're well. So it's not been a good beginning for the Labour Party. They came into government with a massive majority. They probably had the best. They've probably come in with the best possible position you can be in, really, to come into government. However, what we find for the first 100 days now, things are starting to catch up now. So we find they made all these promises. They're not going to raise taxes. They're going to invest in public services. They're going to improve the economy. And really, what you're seeing now is effectively, if you were someone who wasn't familiar with the politics of the UK, you'd think the Tories are still in power. They sounded like the Tories. We need to put taxes up. There's no money to go around. There's going to be pain. Short term, you're going to have to take some short term pain for long term gain. And it's we've been hearing this for the last 14 years. What it really comes down to, Shani, is the UK economy. If you look at it, it's a very narrow economy. 70% of the economy is based on services, and the largest sector in services is finance. So it's a very skewed economy, a very small sector in terms of number of workers have a massive bearing on the economy. So if your car engine is finance, well, you can replace a seal or two, you can replace the door, clean the car. It's still fundamentally the same engine. And that's really what we've had for the last 14 years and what we're having with the Labour Party here. They're not looking to make the strategic decisions or the more challenging decision, which is the economy is not fit for purpose. Therefore, we need to come up with a new engine for the economy, which needs to replace finance or be as big as the financial sector. What they're doing is we were lied to. We've looked at the books and they don't balance up. So the Tories were always lying. And unfortunately, because that's what we've inherited, we have to deal with that now. So what they've done is they've obviously increased tax. Capital gains tax has gone up. National insurance has gone up. And this is really hitting employers, especially small employers. Their taxes are going up. Capital gains tax has gone up as well. But what was probably missing from the budget, Shani, is there's no grand plan. How are we going to grow the economy? There's no details on it. What's the direction of the economy that it's going to go in? Even the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, they said the economy won't grow more than 2%. So that's not really a great thing to sell to the people. And what this comes down to, once again, Shani, is the Tories didn't really deal with the issues the country had. And you're basically seeing the same thing with the Labour Party again. There's no confidence, there's no intention. Let's get our teeth into the underlying issues of the UK and let's try and solve them. What they're doing once again is like the Tories did: is let's tinker, let's increase taxes here and there, and let's just hope for the best. What Labour seem to be doing, and let's get the difficult things through at the early part of the Parliament. Then the latter part of the Parliament, things will hopefully be different. So really, it's like the Tories never left government.
Yeah, and it seems as though this isn't going to fix much. The hit previously on with austerity measures was on departments, was on people for the last 10, 15 years. That suited the Tories in terms of who the Tories are, what they're about. Small government, people are seen as they're not working hard enough, they're not efficient enough, they need to do more, and businesses need protecting and need more money, less tax so they can grow. And this budget suits Labour in terms of the pain is slightly moved to businesses with their employers' national insurance contribution going up and less on people, though it will fall on the worker eventually as companies are paying more NI contribution. They're already saying that they're gonna recruit less, they're gonna invest less, they're gonna probably think of some perks to cut. Wage rises for next year and the year after are being put on hold, though they have got the rise in the living wage. So there seems to be a constant situation where in Britain and in Europe of someone's got to suffer. Someone's got to suffer. Who is it going to be? Who's going to take the hit this time? Who's gonna get it? And when you look at compare it to America's election campaign, and they are falling over themselves on who's going to benefit. Trump If you work overtime, you're not going to get taxed. I'm going to cut taxes on for the big companies. I'm going to add tariffs on the import. So the only people who are suffering are foreign nationals, foreign companies. Kamala Harris, if you're buying a house, you're going to get $25,000 deposit. Medical costs are going to come down, widening medical care. So there is almost the opposite. They're falling over each other and who can give more to which group of people. Whereas here, it's a case of they're trying to hide behind, justify who the knife is going to fall on for the tax rises that are coming. But overall, I can't see it making much of a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Shani, if there was a massive hole in government finances, there's actually a lot of options they had at their disposal. Tax avoidance, this is where companies use the legal loopholes to avoid tax. That's about 150 billion a year. That would cover the whole a few times over. There seems to be plenty of money to hand over to Ukraine. There seems to be plenty of money for aid, but there isn't any money for public services. So there is an issue of priorities here. That's why it's no wonder. Look at the health sector, look at the education sector. These are just not priorities for successive governments now. And that's why you find they do minimum investment in these areas, or overall they've cut investment. But you find businesses are able to use the tax loopholes to avoid paying tax in this country. So in the end, what effectively happens is the average person has to pick up the tab. That's what the government runs the country on. And as we saw with COVID, there was a lot of corruption in terms of the PPP equipment. There was a lot of mismanagement. And all of this, when you put this together, it's no wonder people have very little confidence in politicians. So people were hoping things will be different under Labour. They gave them a massive mandate. And what's probably more shocking is how quickly they squandered that. We're in a scenario, Shani, where Rishi Sunak in the polls is more popular than Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. Just take your mind back 3 months ago,
Mm.
how unpopular the Tories were. They're going to be out for a generation. They have literally turned that around, not by presenting some deep policies or by presenting a new image. In fact, the Tories are still going around giving talks and saying they didn't do anything wrong. Really, it's been Labour's handling. And what it seems is that they've been out of power for so long, the Labour Party, they're a bit dumbstruck now that they're in power. What do we do? And what you're seeing is again, where we're going to cut, where we're going to tax. You can't tax your way into growth. It doesn't work like that. So again, we're seeing this across the West, and it's a broader trend of confidence in politicians where these guys actually have no idea how to navigate this, how to grow the economy. You know, really, a lot of this mainstream mantra of government needs to get out of the way, let private investment come in. All this is failed time and time again. So what you find again, we've got a crop of politicians. You really have no idea on how to navigate the challenges the country faces. I mean, we haven't discussed this, but leaving the single market and Brexit has had a knock-on impact as well, had a massive impact, and no one's talking about that now. It's made an already difficult situation even worse than it could have been. So you add these all together, you've got the Titanic on the ocean. It's going to sink at some point, and that's what's going on here, unfortunately.
Yeah, and there's another aspect of this discussion which is quite interesting. That is, it's the mindset of the people, in particular the elite. Everyone knows what's going on. People are suffering. NHS is crumbling. Elderly care is difficult. Prices are going through the roof. People are debating over eating and heating. People can't afford the rent. People can't afford to buy a house. If kids don't have get free meals in school, they don't have a hot meal for the day. This is not something new. This is not something that's just happened yesterday. This has been going on for years. And the elite, the rich, the super wealthy, they know all this, and there isn't a wanting to help. There isn't a wanting to give. There isn't a wanting to solve the problem. And I think when you look at Islam and the Islamic values, how repeatedly Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentions in the Quran those who establish Salah and give the zakat, establish Salah and give the zakat, establish Salah and give the zakat, and zakat is the one of the taxes in Islam. It's highly built into your personality to want to help, and we've seen this throughout Islamic history of people wanting to give, and not even in Islamic distant history, but even in recent history. We look at Gaza. People have given more than the tax rate. People have given in Syria, in earthquakes in Turkey, in floods in Pakistan. The charities, Muslim charities, are some of the biggest in the country. I.e., there's a want to help fellow people, and I think this is probably the biggest issue, because in terms of actually pounds and pennies, a tax on the super wealthy won't even make a dent. It won't even make a dent in their numbers. But mentally, they just can't accept, or it's not part of them to want to help. And I think that makes it very, very difficult to even have the discussion of taxing the super wealthy, because it's not part of their psychology, it's not part of their personality, it's not the atmosphere around them, it's not part of who they are. And that's a shame in all this. So, Jazakallah khair for that. And I'm sure we'll talk about the budget and costs and finances in future episodes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.